You are not lost. You've been hidden, and you have the power to go beyond the veil. The word matrix gets thrown around a lot, usually in the same breath as simulation theories or conspiracy content. But the real meaning goes deeper than that. It's much older than the internet. The word matrix comes from the Latin word matris, which means mother. It refers to a space that holds and nurtures life, a womb. That is the root meaning of matrix. And in spiritual terms, the matrix is the structure of time and space, the framework through which consciousness expresses itself as form. It's not a computer program. It's not a digital illusion. It's the space that allows your soul to enter physicality, to experience separation, time, choice, and growth. That's the original function of the matrix. It's a sacred container for our soul's evolution. Why the matrix feels like a trap. So why does it often feel like something's wrong? Why do so many people feel stuck, boxed in, and disconnected? Because whenever you're born into the matrix, you forget that you chose it. You forget that you're a soul and not just a body. You forget that you're here by design and not by accident. When you forget that, the structure around you begins to feel heavy. You begin to confuse the container with the control system. And that's a real problem. There's a difference between the structure of reality, which is neutral and sacred, and the systems that have been layered on top of it. The programming, the fear, the shame, the belief that you are not enough, or that you need to earn your worth. These are distortions. They're not part of the original design, but they run in the background until you begin to question them. Structure versus programming. The structure, the matrix, was never meant to trap you. It was built to hold your becoming. But the program inside it, that's what keeps people asleep. And that programming lives mostly in the mind. It tells you who you're allowed to be, what's real, what's possible, and what's not. Over time, you start living by default instead of by design. You repeat patterns that don't belong to you, and you think your thoughts are you. And that's where most people get stuck, in the mental matrix. That's where the real soul work begins. What the veil really is. The veil is that layer of forgetfulness, the invisible wall between what you've been told and what you actually are. The veil is a layer of forgetting. It's what makes you feel separate from your soul, your purpose, and your connection to the most holy divine. You are still all of those things, but the veil makes it hard for you to remember. It shows up as confusion, doubt, disconnection. Sometimes it looks like a fog in your mind. Sometimes it feels like something's missing, but you can't explain what exactly. Everyone who's born into this world passes through that veil of forgetting. It's a part of the design. The forgetting creates the space where remembering becomes extremely powerful. The moment you start noticing the deeper patterns, the veil begins to thin, and you start catching glimpses of the truth. You recognize truth that you never learned because they were always there, waiting for your awareness. And when that happens, you don't need to escape anything. You begin to move through life with your eyes open. That's what it means to walk through the veil. And this is where the confusion begins to clear. The matrix functions as the structure through which consciousness experiences form, time, and growth. Awareness changes how that structure is experienced, and as perception shifts, the veil thins. Patterns of truth become visible, and choice becomes conscious. This path unfolds through presence, discernment, and alignment with the divine, lived from the inside out. And that's the work that we're doing here. In the next episode, we'll move into the first turning point on this path: love versus fear. One stabilizes, the other contracts. That distinction shapes everything that follows. Subscribe if this resonates, and stay with the process and continue walking through the veil with love. We're just getting started here.